Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And you're listening to It Takes Two, the podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
And in this holiday special episode, we're back to Hallmark Christmas movies again.
Nick's favourite.
And we watched 2023's Christmas in Notting Hill and 2016's Christmas in Homestead.
Yes.
Both Hallmark Christmas movies.
Yes, both Hallmark Christmas movies about a person travelling to somewhere that they're not from and don't live and falling in love with someone else, and one of them is famous and the other one is not famous.
Yeah.
This is basically the gist, right?
Yeah. And that's the episode.
How similar did you find these? Because I found it hard, because spoiler alert, for this episode, we really wanted to cover one of these movies for a reason we'll discuss later. So I had...
What reason is that?
Oh yeah, you know the reason.
I know the reason.
So I had to find a similar movie to it, and we wanted to stick to it being Hallmark also. So this was the closest I could get. Did you think they were similar enough?
Yeah. It's normal, everyday person introduced accidentally to super famous person, and they have a Hallmark trademarked romantic connection, and then it turns out everybody else is like also involved with them and blah blah blah.
Yeah, both of them had a lot of coincidences. That's like that when they first meet, they don't know that they're going to be, because they don't know who each other are in the first meeting in both instances, and they don't know that there's going to be connection. And then in Christmas in Notting Hill, it turns out that her sister is dating his brother. So the family she's come to meet for Christmas is his family. And in Christmas in Homestead, it turns out that he both owns the inn that she's going to be staying in and is the mayor of the town and has been trying to stop her from coming there because she is a famous actress and he doesn't want a film to be filmed there.
It's not that he doesn't want the film to be filmed there. He just doesn't want the film
to interrupt the normal town festivities.
Yeah, because he is the mayor and he's, again, because it's a Hallmark movie, super all about Christmas.
Yeah.
No other holidays or religions or creeds matter. It's all about Christmas.
No, hang on. We are at some point we're going to cover some Hallmark Hanukkah movies. This is a Hallmark Christmas movie, and in Hallmark Christmas movies, it's all about Christmas. But I particularly loved how meta Christmas in Homestead is.
It's so meta.
So it's a
cringe level meta.
Because I thought it was, I predicted the extra layer of meta. I was like, oh, I hope they're doing this, and then it was true. So so the main actress in the movie is playing, so she's filming in a Hollywood, so she's from Hollywood, she's filming in a small town, I think this must be in Indiana, is that right? I can't remember. I'll double check that later.
I thought it was Ohio.
Is it Ohio? Is that where they're supposed to be? I don't know, somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Irrelevant.
It's not filmed there anyway. Oh, it's supposed to be Iowa. Iowa is where it's supposed to be, so we're both wrong. So it's supposed to be so she's filming in a small town in Iowa, and she's there filming a Christmas movie, and the Christmas movie is about an actress filming a Christmas movie in a small town and falling in love with the innkeeper.
And guess what, guys? I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. She falls in love with the innkeeper. End of episode. We don't have to continue.
It's great. It's fantastic. I mean, I feel like I've never seen a Hallmark movie that so much takes the piss out of Hallmark movies while still being genuinely a Hallmark movie.
Can I just put my big fat head in here and just say, Christmas in Notting Hill actually feels like a movie where So for those who don't religiously watch Hallmark movies, and I know there are people in our group, in our fans, who do religiously watch Hallmark movies.
Yeah. And people who just enjoy the casual Hallmark movie.
Okay.
You know.
The constant music and it's this weird, playful, borderline copyright free la 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 in the background is so jarring. Like, if this is your kind of junk food for the brain, if you're that kind of person, you know, I don't care. You know, that's on you, buddy. That's your decision.
That's on you, buddy.
But like, if this is your kind of junk food, can we please just agree that it takes us out? It takes me out of the movie.
Right.
Because I love over-the-top dumb action movies.
You've got to think about the fact that it is Hallmark. It's literally a card company. They're just animated Christmas cards, basically.
The thing is that, like, I like over-the-top action movies.
Yeah.
And over-the-top action movies always have the, like, crescendo of the, like, background music, always, you know, and it's that, like, they're in a fan, and the hero's shirt is ripped, and it's blowing in the wind, and the damsel's all like, I love you, but let's save the planet. You know, that kind of, like, and then they kiss, and then explosions. That I can get behind. But it's like, oh my god, you're baking cupcakes. La 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 la. In the background is the most jarring thing to me, and it pulls me out of the movie, and it feels like I'm taking crazy pills.
Speaking about being pulled out of the movie, I think knowing that Christmas in Notting Hill was mostly filmed in Dublin was fun, because I was mostly being like, oh, that looks like Rathmines. Oh, I think that's in Ranelagh.
Yeah, so
I knew the pub.
For those who aren't up onto the meta of where this one movie is, that you'll understand why momentarily. Or if you're a super fan, you'll know why pointing, that's not London, that's Dublin.
Yeah.
It's so important to Lisa, just because she's from Dublin.
Yes.
Yes. And they only did 2 days of filming in London.
I think so, something like that. I couldn't find the exact dates, but yeah, they did a very small amount of filming in London.
And there's a lot of B-roll that could be either stock footage or, like, they just got, like, a very small skeleton crew to go out and film some landmarks.
Because quite often, the shots that are definitely London, there's none of the actors in them.
Yeah.
The only time any of the actors in them are, like, the open-top bus tour they do.
Yeah, so they do an open-top bus tour
wearing
and then say
Unijack
goodbye
hats
to London at the end of the tour. And it's like, were they supposed to leave that in? But yes, being filmed in Dublin, when I recently visited Dublin, for the people who are from the I'm going to sound very colonial here, from the New World, it is a very gorgeous old town. And we watched In Bruges last night.
We did,
and, you know, Colin Farrell's character talks about the fact that he doesn't give a shit about old stuff because he grew up in Dublin.
Yeah.
And as a New Zealander, and as a person who hasn't travelled as much as Lisa, my lovely co-host and my fiancé,
way to announce that on the Hallmark Christmas movie episode.
It feels meta. Dublin is a very old place, and for me it was travelling to a church that was like, there was a plaque in the church that we visited and did a little mini tour of, that was like, they had a plaque that was talking about the renovations it did.
Yeah, the bell tower was renovated.
In 1885, I believe.
No, I think it was 1840 something, was it?
It was old, and I'm just...
It was because you said it was older than New Zealand as a country.
Yeah.
So I think it was 1840 or something like that.
It was ridiculous, and I was just like, they're just absolutely blown away, because I love history stuff, and I like...
For people in Dublin, that's St. Audouin's Church, if you want to go visit it.
Yeah.
It's near Christchurch, but
yeah,
smaller little church.
And not the Christchurch that's in the South Island.
Sorry. It's near Christchurch Cathedral in Dublin, not Christchurch.
The town that was destroyed in an earthquake.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun being there, and then, you know, watching a movie that's supposed to be filmed in London, and like after watching In Bruges, it makes me want to go to Bruges, which is in Belgium. It's just so bizarre. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. you know, there obviously is going to be cheaper to film in Dublin than it would have been to film in London.
Yeah, and the architecture will be similar for a lot of... Because I think the buildings that they primarily filmed at were Edwardian-style buildings. Yeah. So,
Sorry to, like, jump in and talk about something we did on our trip. Yeah. But it was the moment, I think, we were just wandering around Dublin. Mm-hmm. And because we had, when we bought our home together, mm-hmm. In our lovely recording studio, which you're currently listening to us in, is we were looking at real estate. Mm-hmm. And it was just absolutely bonkers, and like doing the conversions in my head, just being like, I don't understand how people can afford to live in these, like, really, they are gorgeous neighborhoods. They are absolutely breathtaking. From like, the thing about New Zealanders is everything, unless you go to like a really nice area, most houses in New Zealand are built out of wood. Yeah. Because of earthquakes, because of the available timber being so available. You know, if you go back to houses in places that were built, you know, say 100 years ago in New Zealand, like the oldest house in Wellington is now like a museum or something. It's not a house anymore. It's all timber because of how accessible timber was. Mm-hmm. And then you go to Dublin, you go to like the old parts of Ireland, the western parts of Ireland, mm-hmm. and even just driving around Ireland was amazing, because you drive around rural New Zealand, yeah, and there'll be some random paddock with some random old ass house that's like roofs caved in, but the walls, like the framework and the walls are still standing, and you're like, oh well, that could be like maybe close to 100 years old. And then you go and you drive around Dublin, and you drive out of Dublin and you drive into the countryside, and there's the same rustic rundown house on a piece of farmland in the middle of nowhere, but you have no freaking clue what the date of that...
You're like, oh, that's about 1,000 years old.
Well, not to 1,000, but like, that could be 700, that, you know, like, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the churches we were in Dublin are, you know, some of them are 1,000 years old or older. Yeah. That one that you hated, that I think it was the one that we did, like, the U-turn in the driveway because there's a graveyard, so you were not happy about it. So that's from, I think that was built in the 600s.
So it's related to New Zealand culture. It's heavily deep set in New Zealand culture, that when you're around dead bodies or burial places, it's tapu. And the thing you have to do when leaving a graveyard or anywhere there's human remains is wash your hands. Mm-hmm. Being a New Zealander touring Ireland, I ended up just carrying water with me the entire time, because I was just constantly having to wash my hands, because the entire country, there's dead bodies everywhere. And it was really a culture shock to me. Yeah. But it's just, yeah, everything is so, like, New Zealand is such a young country, like...
That church was, it was the 8th century, so the 700s that it was originally built in. It's had plenty of renovations since then. But that site and that graveyard have been there for like almost 1,500 years. You know what I mean? It's been, what's that, 1,300 years?
And we went to visit the burial mounds, which are like older than the pyramids.
Yeah, Newgrange. Yeah. And I was going to say, Nouth and Douth? No. My brain is, I get confused with like Hoth. Nouth. There's things spelled similarly and pronounced differently.
Well, it's your country, so you can mispronounce them all you want.
Thank you.
Foreigners can't do that because it's rude. Where were we? Oh yeah, the architecture of Dublin is very similar. Yeah, and it was very obvious to you while we were watching Christmas in Notting Hill, being like, "That's clearly not. That is." That
it's like that. I think is around the corner from my friend's parents' house, and that's
Anyway, let's get into the meat of the movie.
Yeah.
Christmas in Notting Hill is about the captain of the premier football team whose brother is an investment banker who's marrying the American sister, but she's also American, and then they're only half brothers.
Yeah, the half-brother thing was clearly to set up the fact that she didn't know who he was when she met him first.
Yeah.
Because he's got a different last name to the brother
Yeah.
that she's there to visit, which makes sense. They had to have some excuse for it, I guess.
And he's got a knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird... I don't know. There was... It felt like a real movie because it was... Some of the parts were so jarring and so bizarre that it only could happen in a movie where Christmas in Homestead felt like exactly how you described it, made by a greeting card company.
Yeah, so what I thought was... My thoughts on the two movies, like, generally speaking, was that Christmas in Homestead had much cheesier writing, but better acting. And Christmas in Notting Hill had maybe more realistic writing, or more modern movie style writing, but less good acting. Now, I think some of the actors did pretty well. I thought the main guy actually saved it a bit, but I really was not a fan of the lead actress.
Yeah. Some of her... Yeah, it felt like what's the easiest way to put this? People who have been behind the scenes or have acted or have been part of a production team will understand.
Mm-hmm.
People who love movies will understand. You know, I think we joked about... it's not really a joke. It's actually quite horrible. Stanley Kubrick's methods when we were talking about the Shining episode,
Right.
and how he would literally emotionally break down people so he gets the performance from them. I think what Christmas in Notting Hill had that was an issue as a viewer who's watched a lot of movies, as we both have,
Mm-hmm.
was a lack of takes. Because it
Right.
felt like they just took the best one out of the 5 maybe they got per thing, per scene, and I think that was the biggest issue.
Like Tommy Wiseau with where one of the scenes, the best shot, the one that's in the movie, is him clearly walking, looking at the ground till he gets to his mark, and then waving at the camera crew.
Yeah. And
then continuing on, and that's the shot that's in the movie because it was the best take. I think there was just a lack of chemistry. I think that was what bothered me most about Christmas in Notting Hill. There was a lack of chemistry between the characters. And I don't just mean like the romantic leads. The romantic leads, there was some. It was a little bit. They were working on it. But the sisters did not feel like sisters.
Yeah, they felt like...
so awkward.
They felt like... I think it could have been better written. And the way I would have done it, if I was part of the writing team doing the original plot, I think they should have been... The dad and the whole spiel is the mum passed away.
Yeah.
So that's why she got closer to her sister. But it's like talks about the fact that like I raised you with our dad.
Yeah.
And that whole sequence when she's trying to talk. So she, after they meet together and then go their separate ways and then end up meeting again, is the day the brother has gone to get his engagement ring that he's going to give to the sister. Her sister, not his sister. Just to be clear.
Yeah.
And he ends up handing it over to the brother. I can't remember any of their names because they're the most generic white people names. I can't remember any of the characters' names.
So the leads are Georgia and Graham.
Georgia, yeah.
Graham
like the cracker.
Yeah,
Graham like the cracker.
Sister is Lizzie, and then the brother is Henry.
Yeah,
I believe.
So Henry picks up the wedding ring, gives it to Graham Cracker.
Engagement ring.
Engagement ring. And then he just happens to bump into Georgia while she's sitting in a cafe, and then instantly forgets the engagement ring.
Yeah.
Because he's so like, oh my god, you're a woman who doesn't treat me like a star. I want to be around you because this is the one piece of like my life I'm missing because I am the captain of this premier football team.
Yeah, they really early on hammered home the fact that like, oh, women only want to be around me because I'm famous.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and then
okay,
she's
we
like,
get it.
She's like, I have no idea who the fuck you are, buddy. And then that's the end of it.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I love you because you don't know who I am.
I do like where he asks for her name and she tells him, and then she's like, are you not going to tell me your name? And he's like, haha, funny. And she's like, I don't get it. Or do I have to guess? Like, what is this? And he's like, oh wait, you're serious? And she's like, yes.
Anyway, the point that I was going to make, I think maybe if the dad and the mum had split before she died, and that's when Georgia came back into the, like, if her father and mother were living together with her sister, because there's too close of an age gap as well to being like, I was your big sister, and I... She
did say that she's her much younger sister. Because it is a whole plot point early when she knows about the engagement ring but doesn't know that it's for her sister.
Yeah.
She's not concerned about age things because I think her and Graham are supposed to be around the same age, and then Graham's brother is supposed to be a lot younger because he's his half-brother. He's from a second marriage. And then her sister, she talks about her being her... She literally, when they meet up again and she realizes that it's her sister and his brother, are who they are, she's like, oh, our much younger siblings.
Yeah.
So there obviously is supposed to be an age gap. It doesn't look like there's a huge age gap, but there obviously is supposed to be a significant age gap between them.
Yeah, they come off way too closely as, like, old friends.
They don't even come across like friends. They come across like people who, like, went to school together and haven't seen each other in 15 years and are like, oh, cool. I feel like I had more chemistry, actually, with a friend who I ran into in Wellington that I hadn't seen since secondary school, and it turned out we were both in Wellington at the same time when I moved here first.
Yeah.
So we literally spent Christmas together because neither of us had family or anyone around, and it turned out we lived around the corner from each other. But like that's the level of chemistry they have, is like these two friends, who were like kind of friends but not like super close.
Yeah.
And haven't seen each other in a while, and they're like, oh yeah, let's hang out, I guess, because we know each other. Not like close friends who have reunited, or siblings. Yeah. Especially not like siblings who are supposed to have been keeping in touch.
Yeah. Because they have no idea what's going on with each other.
Yeah, they really don't know. I think I put in my notes at some point that they need a chibling chat. Because that's what me and my siblings call our group chat that we have. But they don't even need a group chat. There's only two of them.
Yeah.
But they need to just actually talk to each other sometimes.
So, it's interesting with the inclusion of modern technology in movies.
Mm.
The whole fact that everybody instantly texts back drives me absolutely insane.
Yeah, especially with the time difference and the fact that she's like texting on her American phone in the UK.
Yeah.
Like, did she get a new SIM card? Or does she just have like really good roaming?
Yeah, does she have
I don't know. As a person who has traveled to other countries with phones that you cannot get them to work. It's odd to me that she's like, as soon as she arrives, like, I'll text Dad, and then he immediately texts back, and
it's the weirdest text messages. So, Siri, please respond with a thumbs up or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
It's obviously the joke is that he's old, so he's using voice to text, but like he wouldn't have been able to do that quickly anyway.
Yeah. Because she literally just sent, like, it pops up on the... And I don't know who started this trend, but it annoys me because
That they popped up on the same side?
Yeah, they popped up on the same side.
That's just... It's just bad design.
Yeah.
Because it's like every single messaging app I've ever used has had you on one side and the person you're messaging on the other side.
But it's also the trend of, I'm tired of seeing text messages pop up on screen.
Right.
It feels like a very, like...
I did like that when we watched Christmas at Homestead. The version of it we watched was such bad quality that there's a moment where she gets a text message and you just see it on the actual phone screen, and I was like, I cannot make out a single word of that message. Yeah. I hope it's not relevant to the plot. I don't know.
Yeah, thanks, Hallmark, for making it so difficult for us to watch your stuff.
But yeah, oh my god, because we tried to watch Christmas in Notting Hill the day it was released, and it was like setting up a VPN and then like getting a 20-minute free trial of YouTube TV so that we could watch
5 minutes of ads.
Yeah,
5 minutes of show. 5 minutes of ads.
And
like,
then it's
what?
And then the thing cuts off, and we're like, cool, all right, there's my 20 free minutes. Time to leave.
Better sign up on this trial.
Thankfully, a lot of people uploaded it to YouTube very quickly.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I'm sure Hallmark won't be very thankful for that, but I'm thankful. And my mom is thankful, because I know she watched it on YouTube. Because I guess I can explain why we wanted to watch Christmas in Notting Hill.
Why is that? Don't hold back. Why is that?
It's because there's this really great actor in it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you gotta watch out. It's like, I think, an hour and 10 minutes in. He plays a really important character named Candy Floss Man. No, Candy Floss Guy. I apologize. Candy Floss, one word. Guy, separate word. And that's my brother. So if you watch Christmas in Notting Hill, look out for my brother. He is important to the plot. It's so funny because when he was filming it, like, this was filmed in March.
Yeah.
So we were discussing it at the time, and I was like, oh, I hope it releases in time for us to do an episode. Because otherwise this would be next year's episode, probably. But, like, I remember discussing it, and he wasn't sure whether he was going to be kept in it or not. And I remember we were like, oh, do you say anything to them about their relationship or anything about, you know, making them believe in Christmas and stuff? And he was like, oh, you know, I don't know. Literally, it is a main plot point. There was no way they were cutting it out. Because I didn't get to watch it on the premiere, I was following along on the Hallmark Movies Reddit have they had a watch along thread, so I was following on what people were saying in that, and the two leads share a kiss about halfway through the movie, and people were, you know, talking about it in this thread, because these are people, you know, some of them will be listening, who are pretty passionate about Hallmark movies and have watched a lot of them and know the kind of formulas. Like, they understand why we do these episodes, because there are a lot of similar plots in Hallmark movies. But, like, they were saying, oh, they've kissed really early in this movie, which means towards the end there's going to be a big fight or a big, you know, conflict that has to be resolved. So then when it turns out that my brother's scene is him causing the conflict, I was like, oh, there was no way this was getting cut. Like, this is ideal. So the conflict is actually the same in both movies.
Yeah.
Or kind of a conflict, because I feel like there's a lot more conflicts happening in Christmas and Homestead. But a main conflict in both movies is that a member of paparazzi has photographed them together, and it's been published in a tabloid, and they don't want the unwanted attention, and, you know, etc., 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 and they have tension amongst themselves because of it. Yeah, so in Christmas at Homestead, all the paparazzi show up at his door, which, ironically, is something that happens in Notting Hill, the movie.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what Christmas in Notting Hill is inspired by. And in Christmas in Notting Hill, it's just that she gets real freaked out about it. I think she's just at such a crossroads in her life and her career.
I think it's important to mention, on paper, she's actually a really decent person. She teaches... I can't remember.
She works in special education, I think is how she phrases it. So I think she teaches children with different needs.
Yeah, because in the first sequence where they're, I guess, hanging out in a gym before she flies over, you see a variety of kids with learning. I don't know the politically correct statement for it.
I think learning disabilities is still a...
Yeah. One of the students has Down syndrome. What the girl next to her, I believe, it's very difficult, and this is like an ongoing thing within healthcare and just in general. It's very difficult to diagnose young girls with any form of neurological issues.
Yeah, it's a huge thing because of how so many definitions of things and the book on diagnosing a lot of stuff like ADHD, autism, etc. was written based on diagnosis of young boys.
Yeah, but the girl next to her is clearly neurodivergent because she is so super focused on everything the teacher is saying.
Yeah.
To the point where I don't think any of the, I think one of the other students gets like one line in.
Right.
And that's about it, and she's just like yappity 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 right next to it.
Yeah.
And and so she's trying to decide if she's going to be working with an organization who exclusively work with people with learning disabilities, and that's her like big crossroads. Is she like going to fall in love with this super famous dude?
Well, she's going
to follow her career.
Well, she already has to. She's already in a crossroads with the career stuff.
Yeah.
Because she's been accepted into a master's program in, I think it's Indiana University or something, which is not the real name of it. It's like they call it the Museum of Britain. They swap around the names of both. I've seen people be mad about both things. It's obviously a copyright issue or something, or not wanting to get a lawsuit involved. But anyway, yeah, so she has been accepted into this master's program, but she's also been submitted, and later she finds out she's been accepted into this program that would send her, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to travel the world doing education.
Yeah.
Which she really wants to do, but she also doesn't want to give up on, the stability of the masters. It's a little bit the same in Christmas and Homestead, that he doesn't want to change his situation because he likes having the predictability and the stability of his everyday life.
Do you know what I found hilarious with the whole like lodge owner and the fact that he's also mayor?
What?
You know what popped into mind? Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what popped into mind when he was just like, oh, he's the lodge owner and also the mayor. I was just like, why is this Schitt's Creek? Why is this a Christmas Schitt's Creek?
Yeah, I do think he seemed like he was a little bit more competent than Roland Shit.
Yeah. But so obsessed with Christmas.
But she's at a crossroads anyway in her career situation, and now she also has this situation where she's like, oh, do I want to move to London to be with this guy that I've known for 2 days?
Don't worry, you don't have to move to London. It's actually filmed in Dublin. So
that's nicer.
Place,
and in both cases, like, some amount of conflict and tension in the relationships comes from the fact that one of them not only is famous, it's not only that one of them is famous, but one of them has, like, a career that's very fixed to a place. Like, Graham is not just in a Premier League team. He's in a specific team that he wants to stay in because it was his father's favourite team, I think, or his father was involved with the team. There's a whole plot point because he's got a dead dad and she's got a dead mom, and they go into it. But so he is tied to that place, and obviously in Christmas and Homestead, he owns a lodge and is the mayor of the town. He can't just like up and leave. And then you have Sarah Ramos's character, what's her name, Georgia, who is tied to Indiana and the masters she wants to do, and then I've forgotten the name of the actress in the other one. What's her name? They say it all the time. They say it a bunch of times. Jessica McEllis is the character.
Bland name.
Yeah, so Jessica is from Hollywood and is doing movies and stuff, and she can't really move to a small town and be doing
Jessica's
movies.
Character is far more interesting as the movie star of like the ramifications that happens in the world. Because in my mind there is like a shared Hallmark universe, very much like the MCU.
Right.
She was like, I wouldn't say Harry Potter, but it feels very much like the Aragon of their
right
universe. She is the it's very, because there's multiple movies.
And obviously child friendly.
Yeah, based on books, and she is the heroine of this fantasy realm.
Yeah.
And it feels like she's slaying dragons, something.
Yeah, there's definitely dragons involved. Yeah, I don't know. It's some kind of action fantasy series that's kid friendly. But
Percy Jackson, no.
They did say that the kid wasn't allowed. Oh yeah, we have not mentioned. Oh my god, how did we get this far without mentioning that in a classic Hallmark movie twist, the innkeeper / mayor is also a single father.
dad.
Yeah. So his daughter is a fan of these movies. She says at one point that there is one of the movies she hasn't been allowed to see because of the kissing in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is that in the same series or is it a different movie that the actress is supposed to have been in? Because obviously this Hallmark Christmas movie style of movie that she's filming is not going to be a dragon movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to CGI in a dragon coming into the town in Iowa and messing stuff up.
Yeah, it's very meta of a Hallmark movie about a movie being filmed in a small town that's obsessed with Christmas.
Yep. Also, not even filmed in Iowa, it's filmed in Georgia.
It is cheaper.
Yeah.
It's one of the reason why The Walking Dead was filmed in Georgia. It's one of the big things that their state did was just you get basically, I think it's tax write-offs.
Yeah, I think so. I think it happens quite a lot. There's a lot of stuff that gets filmed in Georgia.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
New Zealand, wake up, guys. We need to start allowing people to film here.
What are you talking about? We've got James Cameron making dozens of Avatar movies here. They don't need to make, cuts on that. James Cameron is here and he's making the stuff anyway.
Yeah, but there's
billions of dollars.
One Avatar movie every 2 years.
Yeah, but the amount of money
CGI.
coming in from that.
Yeah, but
and the jobs, because you say a lot of it is CGI. How much of that CGI is being done in New Zealand?
Yeah, true. But that only there's one genre. We need more genre.
So we need to entice Hallmark to New Zealand, is what you're saying. We'll have a Hallmark Christmas movie set in New Zealand. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I was going to say...
It'll be like that movie you keep trying to convince me to watch.
Yeah, Falling in Love. It's about an inn, again. I'm pretty sure the Kiwi that she falls in love with is played by an Australian as well.
Yeah, that sounds
horrible.
typical.
I was just going to say, I don't have very much in the way of trivia on these movies, but one of them has just come to mind because we were talking about the filming in Georgia. Because the film actually had a significant economic impact on the town they filmed in, so... I really am not going to be able to pronounce the name of the town they filmed in. Dahlonega, I think.
Okay.
It's spelled Dahlonega.
Shout out to those people.
Dahlonega. So it had an economic impact of $375,000 on the town and employed approximately 300 local people as extras. Which, ironically, they do in the movie as well. They're like, oh, we're going to need a whole load of extras for this scene.
And the town's like, yay!
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just, I feel like whoever was writing it was like, oh, we'll just kind of go there and we'll see what we can write in from what's actually happening. Maybe the lead actors actually did fall in love with the innkeeper / mayor while they were there, And then it's multiple layers of meta.
That's a very small town where you're the person who runs the inn is also the mayor.
The mayor. Well, the idea seems to be from the beginning of it that him and his sister, their parents own the inn. And
then they're now so rich that they're now globe-trotting.
Yeah, they're on a cruise somewhere. And they've left the inn to their kids. So he's the mayor and I think he was already the mayor and he's inherited the inn from his parents.
And it's interesting because, I dislike this when writers do it to female leads, and I feel a bit about the same when they come to male leads as well. His only motivation is his daughter protecting the town from evil Hollywood and Christmas. Whereas little sister, on the other hand, is Mum and Dad did what they did. This is our time to shine. We're going to take this and make our lodge, which I don't even remember the name of because I'm pretty sure it's not.
I think it's just called Homestead Lodge.
Okay, into a franchise.
Yeah.
Very much like, again, what I'm going to go back to is the end of Schitt's Creek. She wants to make it into a franchise. Yeah. And like, oh, we want more than this. And it's like, oh, we can't run it as a ma and pa thing. If we franchise it, and she's just like, you're looking too like, what are you talking about? Older brother who's supposed to be the driven character. That's the
it is. I feel like it's explained, but it's in a subtle way, because he doesn't actually care about Christmas. His wife loved Christmas, and his wife,
the dead wife.
Yeah, and his wife loved the Festival of Lights and the Christmas parade and all the Christmas traditions of the town. So he wants every year to be the exact same Christmas traditions, which is why you have all those scenes at the town hall where he's the only person being like, no, we can't let the film crew do this because we must do this exactly the same way we always do it. And everyone else is like, no, I'm quite happy to have the film crew come in and do this and do that, local jobs, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, we can't, they can't interrupt this, they can't interrupt the snowman building, they can't interrupt, the ice skating, the Festival of Lights, etc. He is trying to relive the exact Christmas traditions him and his wife went through.
Do you know what it feels like?
What?
It feels like Stardew Valley.
Yeah, a little bit Stardew Valley. Yeah. The same thing happens every year.
All the weird festival stuff that's like unstoppable.
It's a little bit like that. I think he definitely. And like I said, it is subtle, but they do briefly mention it, that those were the things that she was interested in. So it's a little bit of the, getting past, what, living in that past that you can't go back to, and that's what his sister tried to encourage him. And unlike in Christmas in Notting Hill, the brother-sister relationship feels like a brother-sister relationship. Yeah. As opposed to, like, I don't know. Christmas in Notting Hill really, it had, like, those staples of a sibling relationship written by someone who doesn't have siblings.
Yeah.
Like, even down to the fact that she's like, oh, hey, sissy. Who calls their sister sissy? I don't even have a sister. But, like, have you ever seen me talk to my siblings and be like, hey, bro, hey, sib? Like,
see, as a Kiwi, I call everybody bro.
You do call everybody bro. Hey Sib.
No.
Hey Sibby.
No.
How's my Sibbies? How my Sibbies? Shout out to my Sibbies.
No. Disgusting.
Shout out to my homeboy Candy Floss guy. Also, actually, legitimate shout out to a person on the subreddit. I did not memorize their name, but like. I posted being like, hey, if someone's watching this, can you tell me if there's a guy selling them candy floss at some point in the movie? And a couple of people were like, yeah, no, there's someone, he interacts with a couple of people. I think I did mention that it was my brother, and some lovely person went back in the movie and filmed, so they had it on their TV and they filmed on their phone every shot that he was in, and pictures even when he's just like in the background. It was so sweet. So it meant that like my family in Ireland who couldn't access it at all at that time all knew that he had made the cut because this random person online, because it's just a nice community. I like it. I like when there's nice communities. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand. I was gonna say when people talk about Reddit like it's a horrible place. There are sections of Reddit that are horrible, but like every community I've ever tried to be involved in on Reddit is lovely. The Wellington subreddit is wonderful. Yeah. The Hallmark movie subreddit is full of lovely people. So shout out to that person because that was very nice and I appreciate it. And I have since obviously seen the full movie, but it was nice to know on the day that it was released that when we couldn't see it. What's really annoying is that we mentioned that we only caught about 5 to 10 minutes of the movie in this 20-minute free trial. It turns out it finished 2 seconds before he appears on screen for the first time, so I was very annoyed watching the actual movie and being like, oh my god, if that ad break hadn't been right where it was.
If the ad break hadn't been longer than the actual movie on screen.
Yeah, if the ad break had been only like 1 minute, we would have seen him. But it doesn't matter, we saw him in the end anyway.
It's, It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing for that, because it's just, yeah, you're right. Some are really good, some are really bad.
Yeah.
And it's very nice and very supportive to someone just be like, oh, your brother's in this? Sweet, I'll take as many. Oh, didn't they send you like a little video or a GIF or something?
Yeah, they sent me videos. They sent every time he had a line on screen, every time he spoke, they had a video of it, and every time he appeared in the background, they had a picture. It was lovely. Every single moment that he was in it,
because he got cut. He was also in another movie, and they got cut, and it was like
and that happens all the time with actors, especially if you're in like a small role or an unnamed role. I believe the movie that that you're referencing, he was credited as security guard.
Yeah,
which is a role that could be cut because it doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you see that in credits that you've got people as just like girl number one and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's definitely like famous people who are in movies that aren't. Like I watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space because Sam Rockwell's in it. Sam Rockwell's not in that movie. Sam Rockwell's scenes were cut from that movie. And I don't have Killer Clowns from Outer Space on Blu-ray, I think, is the only version that has the deleted scene with Sam Rockwell in it. And I mean, it's a miracle they didn't just like get rid of it altogether. They're just and they probably only put it back in because they're like, oh, he got famous eventually. Yeah. I think anyone who does acting, any kind of like screen acting, probably has been in things where they suddenly are not in it anymore after the fact. Especially if you got a small role, you don't know what's going to make the cut in the end. Yeah. So it was nice that he made the cut.
There definitely is an interesting industry. Because, it's honestly easier, folks, to make your own movie if you don't like the movies that are getting made. Because you can download free editing software. Everybody has a you're probably listening to us on a smartphone with some ridiculous megapixel camera and several gigs of space on there, and you can just literally export it onto your computer and be like, I'm going to make my own movie. Yeah. And you see how popular like YouTubers these days and how many people make millions of dollars per year, and most of that crap is just like, hey, today I'm reacting to this garbage. Oh my god, he fell over. Anyway, thanks. That'll be $1 million per year that I make. No, there are literally people out there making. It's like I know you don't care about this, but the guy who made the Astartes 5-part series now works for Games Workshop because it's better than any of the other crap they'd put out until they put out it's like Warhammer Plus or whatever it is, which has got like weird, but of course like massive IP copyright striking. But it's just interesting to me that there is an entire market for it, and people are making whatever they want. And it's like why The Martian, the book, is so popular. Because you know the story about that? Every time he finished a chapter, he just posted it online for free. Yeah. And he was like ringing NASA.
I think was it on like LiveJournal or something? Something
like that, yeah. He was like ringing NASA and like, hey, what would happen if you did this in space? And they're like, this? And he's like, fantastic, right?
Good old Andy Weir.
Yeah.
I must read. I haven't read the book. I really should at some point.
Oh,
I think when we did, because that was our first episode, was on The Martian.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we recorded that, which is like 2.5 years ago now, I was like, oh, I must read the book sometime. I still haven't gotten around to it.
The problem with me is I don't get enough time to sit down, so I prefer audiobooks.
I don't own it, but I put it on my like Christmas wish list every year as a thought for whoever has me for our Chris Kindle.
What, The Martian?
The Martian, the book.
That's right.
I think so. I think it goes in like most years that goes up in my. I'm like, oh yeah, that's something I wouldn't mind getting, The Martian. So it'll be on there forever until someone gets it for me for Christmas, and then I'll eventually read it.
I'll tell you what's on my Christmas list, folks. There's a call to action. Join our Discord. The link is in the footnotes.
Yeah, because this is a book. You're reading a book right now. You're just imagining our voices in your head.
What is it called then?
The show notes.
Show notes. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's not a show, but okay.
It is a show.
No one can see us.
It doesn't mean it's not a show. What?
And up next is ZZ Top. No, that's
it's a talkie. It's a talkie then,
radio show.
A radio what?
Oh, yeah, true.
Yay.
We were talking about your brother, and then Dublin's
We did talk
awesome.
about- Dublin's
Ireland's
awesome.
really old.
That's true. Very
London's
true.
too expensive to film in. Georgia gives people tax breaks.
Yeah. Hitting all the good points here.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to reiterate the fact that Christmas in Notting Hill felt like an actual movie.
Yeah.
Where I don't know what's going on with Christmas in Homestead because it felt so meta. The character we haven't brought up is the ex-boyfriend.
Oh, right, okay. I thought for some reason I was like, we were going to say the bodyguard. I don't know why that's what I thought.
Oh, yeah, that's a cute relationship. We'll get into that after
yeah,
this.
I'm more invested in the, like, friendship between the small child and the bodyguard than I am in pretty much any of the relationships in Christmas in Notting Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ex-boyfriend. Yeah, that's something that we don't have in... Because obviously in Christmas in Notting Hill, they kind of reference the fact that they both don't have relationships, haven't really had relationships in a while or whatever, and their much younger siblings are... have got things more together than them.
Yeah.
In Christmas in Homestead, we start off at the bat with, like, oh, how are you going to get on filming this movie with your boyfriend? She's like, you mean my ex?
Yeah.
And then he's, like, trying to get back with her instantly. And then...
And, like, basically tells her halfway through filming the movie when she's, like, developing a relationship with Roland Shit that he's not acting.
Yeah, he's not acting.
He doesn't have to, reach down deep into his acting chops to emote on screen because he's really in love with her. And it is such a... Everything about him, except for the fact where he sort of, like, redeems himself, sort of, but in the most creepy way possible, which is, like, disclosing him taking a selfie of them kissing.
So he did that. So he did take the selfie while he was being a shit at the beginning of the movie. He went to take a selfie with her, and then she agreed to take the selfie. And then when he went to take it, he kissed her and took it. And she was like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, to get the paparazzi away from the guy she's actually interested in, he sold the picture of them kissing to the tabloids with a fake story about them getting back together, so that the tabloids and the paparazzi would follow him.
Which doesn't make any sense.
And especially doesn't make sense because, like, 2 minutes later, she kisses the real guy in front of the whole town and the film crew and everyone.
Yeah.
So, also, the relationship between the sister and the paparazzi guy annoyed me because he's like, oh, you're right. You're so nice. I shouldn't exploit your brother and I shouldn't sell this photo, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, he's paparazzi. That's not what he'd do.
Yeah.
He'd get the money.
It's, that whole thing's also super weird because I remember yelling it at the screen while we're watching the movie.
Oh, I did take down one quote that you... I don't know, I don't think it's going to be what you just said, what you were going to talk about.
When being a paparazzi is just his Monday to Friday job, what he's really into is taking regular artsy photography.
Right.
And then, like, takes a candid photo of the sister trying to block her face because there's a random creep who's been hiding in a tree on their property, taking a photo of her in the street.
Yeah.
And then the end of the movie, he gives the framed photo of her to her in her Christmas stocking with a release form.
So that he can use it in an art show.
Because someone wanted to see the photo in an art... How have you had time to do that, buddy?
Yeah. The quote that I took down, because I love it when you yell at the screen during Hallmark movies, was when our friend Roland Shit, that's definitely the name of his character in this movie, says to her, like, oh, I'm falling in love with you. You shouted, it's been 2 weeks, calm the fuck down, bro. I thought that was beautiful. That really summed it up. But what's very funny about it is that we watched this after we had watched Christmas in Notting Hill.
Yeah.
And because there's a difference of 0.1 in the rating on IMDb. We normally watch the worst rated film first. And in Christmas in Notting Hill, it's an even shorter time frame. Which I think you were annoyed about it in Christmas in Notting Hill, but then in this one, even though it was a slightly longer time frame, you just snapped. Because I don't think they said love at all in Notting Hill, right?
Yeah, they were just like, I'm conflicted and have feelings and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Both movies then end with a time skip to 1 year and 1 day later. which is a weirdly specific thing to do. And in one, they're premiering the films they filmed there, and in the other, he's back with playing Premier League football. And in both of them, the other person the woman has moved to the town, seemingly. We don't actually know if that's what happened.
Also, the fact that
they happen to be there on that day.
As you mentioned, behind the scenes, insider information, get it here on E. It was filmed in March and came out December.
Yes.
Where they're talking about a movie that has no VFX.
Yeah.
It is produced by her, takes a year to be released.
Well, I mean, it was like that, or it takes a day to be released. I assume it took a year to be released. The actual film, because that's one of the few bits of trivia. So I've covered off 2 of the 3 bits of trivia, and here's the third bit. The film, I'll read it word for word for you. The film mirrors real life in certain ways, as it is a Christmas movie shot in a small town famous for its Christmas celebrations, about a film crew who go to shoot a Christmas movie in a small town famous for its Christmas celebrations. However, while the fictional film crew takes advantage of the fictional town celebrations, the real film finished shooting over a month prior to the real town's Christmas celebrations. So in real life, it took about a month and a half.
Yeah, which makes sense.
So they shot it in October, and then released it in December. Whereas in the movie, they shot it on Christmas Eve, like up to Christmas Eve. The last shooting date was Christmas Eve, and then it was released Christmas Day the next year.
Yeah,
because we're all like, "Oh, happy Christmas." And Christmas in Notting Hill is, all the stuff happens. Christmas Day is the culmination of things, and the brother proposing to the sister and blah, blah. And then it's Boxing Day the following year that the match is happening and she's there. They both leave it pretty ambiguous, in that it seems that the relationships are still going in both, but we don't know, are they long distance? Have they moved? We don't know, did Georgia go to the university and do her master's, or did she travel? Or does she do neither of them and stay in London? It's left ambiguous. It's left too ambiguous, according to some people, because that was a big point of contention on the Hallmark subreddit.
Fair.
Because people were like, did she do it? Did she not do it?
I completely agree with those people, because it feels like, again, like male priorities are put in front of...
Yeah.
And, the most famous one that pops up all the time for me on Reddit is the scene from A New Hope where Luke's sad that Ben Kenobi's dead.
Yeah.
And Leia's like looking
entire
after
home
him,
planet has
got
just
blown
been,
up in front of her, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, that old guy you knew.
The strength of women.
Yeah. It's piss poor writing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the general consensus is that she must have done the year of travel thing. And is back in town for Christmas. But the question then is whether or not they've kept the
premier footballer, I don't know what the captain is, but the average pay is between like 4 to 4.5 to 3.5 to 4.5 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he would be able to afford to fly her on her holiday.
Yeah, to fly her back from Christmas, because she probably isn't teaching at Christmas week.
Yeah.
So the assumption is, because she did accept it during the movie, but then kind of regretted it and wasn't sure, did she make the decision too quickly? The assumption is that she kept the place on that program and did her 1 year of travel, and it remains to be seen what happens. There was definitely a lot of discussion around changing styles of Hallmark movies, and these... Well, Christmas in Notting Hill, but I feel like it applies to Christmas in Homestead as well, being very much about the beginning of a relationship, with then a kind of a, who knows what happened next, this is how it started, approach to it, rather than doing like a happily ever after necessarily thing.
Can we talk about Gavin now?
Can we talk about Gavin? Sure. What do you want to say about Gavin?
The relationship between him and the daughter is absolutely fantastic and more riveting than like whatever else was happening in that friggin' movie.
It's great. So he's the bodyguard of the actress.
Yeah.
And the daughter, when she meets him first, is like, oh, I want a bodyguard because this girl that I know has a horse and I want to be cooler than her by having a bodyguard. And she's like, I understand you've got obligations, but if you could just like walk me to school and to piano lessons or something, I can't remember what it was. Like, that would be great. And then he's kind of like, okay, but then as it goes on, they actually develop a friendship, and it's very sweet. There's a moment where he's talking to her about how she feels about the whole tabloid situation, and then he's sitting down and she gives him like fake tea, and he's got his pinky finger up drinking the tea. It's very cute.
Yeah, that her reaction to Gavin is better than her reaction to meeting her favourite
actress. Yeah,
because she's like watching repeats again. Screen children shouldn't be taught via screen. Or have limited screen time. Again,
it's referenced that those movies were her mother's favourite, and that's why she watches them over and over again. It's a family tradition of being stuck in their mother's favourite traditions.
Yeah. Not everyone gets the catharsis that John Wick did by killing everybody.
Yeah, true.
It's when like the extras in Christmas in Notting Hill who react to Graham Cracker is some of them are realistic, some of them are like
it's a real mixed bag.
It's a real mixed bag.
I mean,
it's
I don't
almost
blame
a spice bag.
I don't believe. Oh my god, the girl at the beginning where like she wants to buy the jumper with his face on it, and the woman's like, "Oh, you're a fan?" She's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, I'm his mother."
Yeah.
And then she calls him out of hiding, and she's like, "Oh, cool, all right." And she's real awkward, like she's literally just being harassed.
Yeah.
I understand why she's not reacting all excited, but then there are others that are like reacting like they're hyped.
Yeah. Like it doesn't take a lot of googling to see what a real reaction to meeting a celebrity's like.
Yeah.
That's why. I'm sort of brush some dirt off my shoulder, like JC, brush it off your shoulder, like JC said. That's why a lot of celebrities love New Zealand.
And this is what Nick has just done is accidentally quoted this year's Till Death Do Us Blart, where another New Zealander said the exact same thing.
The fact that celebrities love New Zealand is because when we see them in public, the most you get out of a Kiwi is a nod. Versus in other countries where you cannot go anywhere because then there'd be like 50,000 people surrounding you with cell phones pointed in your face while you're trying to eat a salad.
Big prime example, we mentioned James Cameron earlier.
Yeah, we saw him the other day. It was
Oh no, but there was an article about him living in New Zealand, and he said like he loves it because he lives in Wellington. I haven't seen him around except for the time where he was actually talking at something we were at.
Yeah, we were just hanging out with Jim.
Yeah, we were just hanging out with Jim. But like that, he said that he walks along the waterfront in Wellington, and he either will get no response or occasionally someone will nod and go, "Hi, Jim."
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the level of excitement that you get from celebrities in New Zealand. I've seen people Kiwi celebrities like Jermaine Clement and stuff, and I just blatantly ignore them. So that's what you do. I mean, in fairness, Jermaine Clement was just like getting food at the same food stall as me.
Yeah.
But my entire thought was like, oh, he likes these dumplings too. Like.
My favourite interaction with you and a celebrity was the time that you were at the airport and you saw Dylan Moran.
Oh my god! I think you meant something that you witnessed. Yeah,
no.
The Dylan Moran situation. That was so funny because it was just. I didn't do anything or say anything, but I was walking through Dublin Airport and I saw Dylan Moran, and it was just that moment of recognition.
Yeah.
You can tell when someone looks at you and they recognize you.
Yeah.
And he just gave me this death stare and like a subtle like shake of the head, and I was like, okay, this man does not want to be noticed. We keep walking. There was that like don't do it. Do not draw attention to me right now. And then it was funny because I actually spoke to a friend of mine who had been at a Dylan Moran show the night before and said Dylan Moran got plastered at the show. Yeah. So obviously when I saw him, he was incredibly hungover. But it was, that was funny. Yeah. I saw Dara O'Brien once at a train station. I don't know if people would consider Dara O'Brien a celebrity.
Talking of another thread that popped up on Reddit recently, which was talking about the absolute love for Kenny's, a place I used to work at, which is now gone.
Yeah.
I made the lead singer of Shehad a steak sandwich once, which was commented on how nice the steak sandwiches were. But I remember making him a sandwich and just being like, oh, oh, it's so and so. Okay, cool. Gonna make him a sandwich.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the end of it.
Have I told you about when I met John Hurt?
I don't remember.
So he did like a talk. But my brother actually organized it. Candy Floss guy.
Yeah.
You know my brother, Candy Floss guy.
Yeah.
Well, he was in a drama society at his college. John Hurt was invited as a fellow, like he was given like an honorary fellowship or whatever, and he did like a talk and things, and then he let people come up and get things signed afterwards. And I didn't have anything John Hurt related, so I literally took one of the posters advertising that show or that like talk, and I went up to him. And this is it's like in the same kind of setting as a convention where the person is expecting you to know who they are and be a fan and have fan interactions, whatever. And I just I don't know if I panicked or if I just blanked, but what I said to him, the only words I said to John Hurt were, "I loved you in the animated Lord of the Rings." Which is, who would say that to John Hurt? John Hurt. The Elephant Man.
Yeah.
Alien.
Yeah.
Come up with 1984 or whatever. You even more modern ones like, what was it, V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
Come up with something that people care about. Hey, I loved you when you played Aragorn in the 1978 Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings movie. Obviously your most popular role, I mean, even if I had if I had wanted to specifically go with animated films, I could have said Watership Down.
Yeah.
But that was my interaction with John Hurt was hey, I loved you in the animated Lord of the Rings.
But I mean, see, I think the problem is with both. Well, it's not a problem. I think the little quirk about both of us is, we like things that are more obscure than most people.
Right.
If I was if hypothetically, because I know people who know Sam Neill, if I was going to end up meeting Sam Neill in real life, I would probably, if I had prep time, I would take the sleeve out of Event Horizon rather than Jurassic Park.
I was going to say, what about Hunt for the Wilder People?
But I like him.
Event Horizon is a great movie.
Yeah.
But do you not have In the Mouth of Madness on DVD? Because you've got like a box set or whatever.
I think I do, yeah.
Because that would be a fun one.
But what I'm saying is that if I was meeting Sam Neill in real life,
Horizon.
just random, I would
but
be
that's
like,
a
I loved
fantastic film. I mean, I do enjoy the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, but it's like a bizarre film.
But it'd be the same if I met Mark Hamill. I wouldn't be like, I loved you in Star Wars. I'd be like, I loved you
as the Joker.
As the Joker.
Yeah. Everyone does.
Yeah.
I've got some weird DVDs.
I could say Cockknocker.
Okay, I don't even know what that is.
He cameos in one of Kevin Smith's movies.
I mean, Bigsby Bear.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he's so good in that.
Well,
I do have some weird DVDs signed because I did go to film school, so there were occasionally like visiting lectures that were, relatively famous people. Ciarán Hinds actually was one that I met. I didn't have anything to give him, but if I did in Bruges, 100% he would have been. There was a guy, I can't think of his name, it was Barry something, I've forgotten his last name, but he was like a writer, director, and he had worked on, no, he wasn't like a director, a DP, I think, director of photography.
Yeah.
He had worked on The Hurt Locker.
Right.
So at the time I met him, he was shortlisted for an Oscar for The Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
And I brought in a DVD of Track 29. No one knows what Track 29 is. I barely know what Track 29 is, but it's a really weird, obscure 80s movie starring Gary Oldman as someone's maybe son, maybe hallucination, who she has an incestual relationship with. And I got this guy, and what he said to me was, I didn't even know they made DVDs of this. And I was like, well, should you sign it? And it's like I met Jeremy Bulloch. This is one that I have here because I brought it with me.
Yeah.
I met Jeremy Bulloch at a Star Wars convention. Literally, the guy who plays Boba Fett.
Yeah.
At a Star Wars convention, and I brought him a DVD of my favorite serial of Doctor Who because he was in it. Yeah. And he remembered it, and he signed it as Hal the Archer. Like he knew what was up. But, like, no, in fairness, it was an empty queue. No one was going up to see him. Kenny Baker was there and everyone was going to see Kenny Baker. Yeah. And I was like, Boba Fett's my boy. But also, like, I didn't even bring anything Boba Fett related. I was just like, hey, I love Doctor Who and you were in this one. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that I'm sure. I wonder, the guy who I got to sign the DVD of Track 29. He's the only of one of these people that I feel like at some point might have still think about it.
Yeah.
Be like, why did someone even have that? And why, like, a teenager who brought it to me at a college? Like, what were they doing? What's wrong with that person?
What if that person's in jail?
Yeah. It's such a weird movie. Christopher Lloyd is in it as well.
Anyway, to the point I originally made, is some of the extra work is awful. It's a mixed bag. It's a spice bag. And it's so weird having, like, people going up to Graham Cracker and being like, like when he leaves his brother's engagement ring behind in the cafe. And she just, like, walks up to him like she's about to, her blood is made from, like, explosives and she's, like, light on the precipice of going thermocritical.
And there's, like, the kids that just shout at him in the park and stuff. And he's just a football player. I don't get it. Well, I guess the idea is that he's supposed to be, like, the equivalent of, like, David Beckham or something, right?
Is Manchester United a Premier League? I don't know how it works. Okay.
Manchester United is one of the Premier League teams that has never left the Premier League, I believe. The one, I don't know if the one that they use in this is even a real one. I feel like it's a made-up one.
Yeah. You said something really interesting, which I thought was hilarious.
Just what?
You said he doesn't... Earlier in the movie, you said he doesn't talk like a footballer.
Yeah, this was a comment from my mum.
Yeah. Shout out. And all the fancy people go to rugby schools, not football schools.
Yeah.
So a little bit of disbelief in the story.
Yeah, because he's clearly brought up in a wealthy family and is...
Oh, yeah, the family comes off as old money.
Yeah, 100%. They come across as super wealthy. He's got a very posh accent.
Yeah.
Like, the guy who I think is supposed to be his coach, he sounds more like someone who would actually be in that job.
Their relationship felt really weird.
Really strange, yeah.
It was like a...
He's, like, texting his mum as well, was he, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Oh, no, his mum was texting him, and he's all like, I told her to stop. But, like, at the same time, his mum's selling shirts.
Yeah, his mum, like...
stall.
And then she said that the money's going to his non-profit.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
And
she's
then,
making, like, handmade... Or she's not
handmade, printed
ugly Christmas jumpers with his face on them.
Yeah. As, like, Santa or an elf or... just in the middle of, like...
It's very strange. They're not even well made. You'd think they'd have the money to make better ones.
Yeah.
It's just really... And she's just selling them at, like, a random market, and she has them, like, hiding in the background with sunglasses on so she can bring them out when she wants to and get people to...
When young people don't believe that she's his mum.
Yeah, and then get them to post, like, hashtag Lynn's Market or whatever on the...
Yeah. And then, of course, somebody actually does it, and then obviously everybody turns up and, like, swamps him, but then he's all like, bye, and they all agree, and he can just walk away, which is bullshit, and not what happens. You saw what happened with Thanks and his wife at the airport? That was disgusting. That's what real paparazzi are like.
Yeah. I do think it's worse in America, but London, I think, will be pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were actually in Dublin, sure.
Yeah.
It might not be. Because I feel like in Ireland we're not as famous for it as you are here in New Zealand, but I feel like we've got a relatively similar idea of...
That person's just trying to get a sandwich.
Yeah, just leave them be. If they're in a situation where they are, you know, deliberately interacting with fans and stuff, sure, but otherwise just let them... Let them go to Subway in the train station or whatever.
Yeah, not everyone's like Keanu Reeves who can just, like, rides the subway and is like a normal person because he's not acting uncomfortably. No one actually realizes it's friggin' Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I almost lost it because the bit that I remembered from a movie of fans interacting with famous people was that moment where, in spoilers for the movie being John Malkovich, when Malkovich ends up outside of gets dropped off by the motorway, and some random person just throws a can at him.
Yeah.
And it's a crew member. And like the whole thing was like a setup with like Malkovich agreeing and the crew, like all of it was like done behind the main directing crew's back.
Yeah.
But it's just, that moment is just like the most hilarious, because they call his name out and he turns and gets hit in the head with a can, and it's just like, that is such a deep cut on like people, because that wouldn't have happened in real life. It's just such a funny moment of just like this horrific time knife based trauma that happens to John Malkovich gets dropped out of the midair and lands on the ground, and then someone just hits him in the head with a can, and it is such a beautiful moment in cinema. I love it. But yeah, it just like, that was what popped into my brain. How people interact with stars.
Yep. I
still want to write a movie where he plays a jewel thief. Probably gets thousands of them. Hey, remember that really weird throwaway line in that weird movie that you were in? Where do you want to go from here? Budget and box office don't really make sense.
Not really
They're both 6.5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, they're not 6.5%. No, they're both. One of them is 6.5 and the other one's 6.6 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, neither of them have any critic scores, but Christmas in Notting Hill is at 60% audience rating, and Christmas in Homestead is at 42%. So they're, you know, on the lower end of the scale. They're mediocre. They're mid-range. I didn't hate them.
No.
It's definitely some enjoyable parts, some more enjoyable than others, and they both had positive things and less positive things. Do we talk about the jewelers, the controversial fact that they... You
can, as a
I don't want to... I'm not going to go into it. I just think it's funny that there's been a little bit of controversy because they buy the engagement ring in Brereton's, which is a Dublin jeweller, and they go around with the Brereton's bag, and it's a Dublin jeweller, and it doesn't exist in Notting Hill. I actually used to work with the son and daughter of the jeweller, which is funny, because they ran a music venue. I don't know if it's still open or not. They ran a music venue in Dublin that I used to do photography at. So I thought that was funny, because I knew that it was from the controversy online that there was a jeweller who was Irish in it, and then I didn't realise it was that one. But there you go.
Shout out to all the people who listen to us on Spotify, because we just did our Spotify Wrapped and saw the fact that a lot of people are listening, new people are listening to us this year. And
absolutely. And we had something like 13% growth, and we were in 20 people's top 10 podcasts and 15 people's top 5, so that would have appeared on their Spotify Wrapped. 15 people would have had us in top 5, and then 5 people had us as their number 1 podcast in 2023. So thank you so much for listening to us and consistently listening to us, or if you've shared with your friends, because
81% of shares are direct links.
Apparently quite a lot of our listens on Spotify have been from people sharing, so it really makes a difference. If you enjoy our podcast, or any podcast that you enjoy, if you share that with your friends, we can see that that's happened, and it makes an impact on our numbers, and I really appreciate it. And like Nick said, you can join our Discord. We are active on Instagram and Tumblr primarily. We do post on Facebook, but not a lot. Just when new episodes are out, we post on there, and our Discord, we have an episode discussions channel where people talk about our most recent episodes, and we have a whole lot of other stuff on there if you want to post wherever. And also a website of ittakes2.co.nz. Yeah. Thank you for listening to the first of 2 holiday movies. The next one is gonna be more something. Don't know. You'll have to find out what I mean. Okay. I didn't know where you were going with that sentence. Alright. Goodbye.